Thanks very much, Diane. Thanks for the intro. And thanks for the invitation. I'm proud and delighted to be here. You probably wonder why I ended up with mental health. As Diana said, I am an ex-New South Wales police officer, and unfortunately I was involved in a critical incident in 2018 where one of our officers was stabbed during an altercation. The initial three officers were there. Then we got the call across the road from the station that officer was down. I was the second one to attend there. Unfortunately, 8 shots were fired. The POI was actually killed right in front of my eyes. And no matter how strong you are, how experienced you are, I still cannot let go of that incident today. Thank God I was mental health trained in the force, so I did have something up my sleeve. I happened to reach out through Bannister. Bannister then ticked a few boxes and then never heard anything from them. So I took it upon myself to see my GP. And to this day, as of today still, I see a psychologist. I'm not embarrassed to talk about the topic because the topic is real. The topic is real. So I've taken on the journey. I set up mental health first aid trainer. I did have a training company from way back in 1995 because during my career in the force, I also volunteered as a lifesaver for Cronulla Surf Club and also worked as a casual lifeguard for the Sutherland Council. So you could imagine what I've seen. I've been in some traumatic rescues. Unfortunately, you've got to try and let go and move on. And I believe the more I can sort of preach the gospel of mental health, maybe we can save another statistic. So, what we're going to try and quickly... I'm used to driving my own presentation, so I'm relying on... Got it? Okay. I do like to partake in the acknowledgement of country, recognise the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the custodians on the land of which we live and work, and pay our respects to traditional owners, elders, emerging leaders and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Yep, sorry? Oh, okay, great. So, just a quick content overview. So what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at what is mental health. Over to you. What is mental health? Don't be embarrassed. I want to engage you. I want to have a conversation. What do you think mental health is? Yep, okay. What if I said, what's mental illness? Same? Yeah. And if you are suffering from mental health, it does come and go. It does come and go, but the mental illness lasts for a long time. The stigma. Very big in the cops. Stigma. Harden up, Johnny. Get on with it. It's part of what you chose to do. But deep down it hurts. Deep down it hurts. We need to, the stigma about talking about mental health is so important. Be honest. Who would be embarrassed to talk about mental health right here and now? So you all talk about it? Yeah, you would. Great. That's good to hear. Depression, signs and symptoms. Do you get depressed? Yeah, everybody does. That's right. Do you overcome it? You come out the other end and feel really good? But what if you're not getting out of that depressive state? Do you think you now may have a mental illness? Yeah? Would you go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm feeling depressed, I don't feel up to it, what's wrong? Help me. We need to talk about it. We need to use the GP. How common are mental health illnesses? Very, eh? Very, very. I wish we had heaps of statistics on them because not everybody fronts the GP to say, I'm suffering from a mental illness. Anxiety, driving school. Do your students or your candidates get anxiety when they're driving that vehicle? Yeah. How does it place you guys as instructors? Huh? Same? Yeah. I hope he doesn't hit the accelerator as opposed to the brake. Yeah. But it does come and go, doesn't it? Once the lesson's over, it's over and done with. Thank God we're in one piece. Car's in one piece. But what if that goes on and on? Every time you go out there, you're getting this anxiety developing. Then you are suffering from an anxiety disorder. So then we'll look at a bit of conclusion and Q&As. So So the definition of a mental illness, what is it? Changes in our thoughts and feelings. Do you sometimes wake up in the morning and feel like, I really don't want to go to work today? Yeah? And sometimes you think, wow, I got up this morning, this is the only gig I've got, which is great. So I had plenty of time to go to the gym this morning. I woke up, but tomorrow I'm heading the road down to Chimit. I got a 5.5 hour drive, then I've got a session to run in the afternoon, then off to Canberra, and so on and so on. So now I'm really becoming a bit anxious, the fact that I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to do about 2,000 Ks in the next 4 days. Right? But that is over and done with when I get back home on Friday night. But if that sort of is consistent, then I am suffering some form of anxiety. Now, can that cause disruption to day-to-day functioning? Yeah, very much so, very much so. It impacts your work, your relationship, the way you feel, the way you talk to other people. You might be becoming aggressive. And a mental illness sometimes just doesn't go away as quickly. What do we need if our mental illness doesn't go away quickly? Help, that's right, H-E-L-P. We need to see a GP. We need to have some medication. Why do you think we have such a high rate of mental illnesses? Anybody? Sorry? Yeah, they don't seek out help. But the other thing is, when they do seek out help, they decide to can their medication. I'm feeling a lot better now. I don't have to take my medication any longer. When you got the flu, you're given 2 doses of antibiotics. Take the full course. A couple of days in, I feel great. I'll stop it. And all of a sudden you get a relapse. That's exactly the same. So, that's what it looks like. We have good days, we have bad days. Sometimes we'll end up here, wake up here, and we'll end up with a good day. Sometimes we're here and we slide down to the bad day. That is our life, day to day. You wake up, turn on the radio or turn on the TV show or Today, whatever, Good Morning Australia, whatever it is, and you hear the news. What do you hear these days? Yeah, that's it, exactly. From the crisis out there to here, road deaths, road tolls, shootings. Yeah, DVs, this, that, this person's been jailed. I'm sick of seeing that. Is there anything good on the news these days? So what choice do I have? Don't watch it. Put on my own music in the car so I don't listen to the radio. So we do have a choice. So what mental health model is trying to do is trying to give early help and assistance. So part of the court training that Diana undertook was to give us some tools. And one of the tools you have in that little pack that I gave you, have a look at your ALGEE, right? If you open up the packs, by the way, 2 of those packs have got a complimentary voucher in there for a full mental health first aid training course. Who has got it? Somebody's got to have it. Is there an envelope in there? Yep, you've got one. The lady here's got one. And where's the other one? Anyone else? Come on, have a good look. Nah? Somebody else has got to have it. Oh, that's it. Is that who's? Yeah, we've got a gentleman here that's inspecting. Has he got an envelope in it? Oh, we might have not given it out. There's a couple of spares over there, by the way, too. All right. Grab anyone. Shake it. If it's heavy, it's got an envelope in it. All right, let's move on then. So basically what we try to do with mental health first aid training is just offer you the training. We don't diagnose, right? We're not counsellors. We're not diagnosing. We're doing what we do with doctors A, B, C, D. We prevent the situation or the condition becoming worse, okay? So what we do is, just like first aid is given until professional treatment is received or until the crisis is resolved, that's all we do. Bleeding, put a Band-Aid on it, put pressure on it, wait for the paramedics to arrive. Same thing with mental health. And we'll go through it in a bit more detail. So why mental health first aid then? As you can see up there, these problems are becoming more common. Right? Back in my younger days, mental health, what was that? Didn't exist, did it? It did exist, but it wasn't out there. Many people are not well informed. So I, as an individual, if I don't know what I'm suffering at the moment, could be a mental illness, I just get on with my day. And I, as an individual, that if I said this particular person here was suffering, I might not be able to recognise the signs and symptoms because I have no idea. You look normal to me today, yesterday, tomorrow, the next day, the next day. Now, many people won't seek help. Why do you think that's the case? So, social stigma, embarrassed to talk about it. What did I do? I opened up Pandora's box the minute I stood out here. I'm not embarrassed because if I can talk about it, you can go back and talk about that too to somebody else. Say, by the way, the speaker told us about what he went through. High level of stigma, yep. Some people don't realise. Think about it. Do you know anybody that could be suffering a mental illness, but they don't realise that they're in that sort of, yeah? Gentleman over there? Anything you'd like to share without mentioning names? Yep, okay, fine. Yeah, can't get through to her. Yeah, so what do you do? Yeah, all right. Good, thank you. Professional help is not always immediately available. Big issue. Thank God they've increased the Medicare rebates. How do I have to book an appointment with a doctor 2 weeks in advance when I'm suffering mental illness right here and now? 2 weeks is too long. Go to the medical centre. There was an article, my sister-in-law's at Southern Hospital. They had a 9-hour wait. 9-hour wait on the weekend. Right? People were just irate, screaming the house down. 9 hours to get seen. That's one of the worst weekends they had at Southern Hospital. So what mental health first aid is better knowledge, attitude. We need to change the attitude out there. Change the attitude. As soon as you talk about mental health, you're discriminated. The stigma, we don't want you. You're not working for us, or you're not doing this. The helper's action may determine how quickly the person recovers. What do you do when somebody's got a cut finger? You put a Band-Aid? Somebody's fallen over, broken a leg? What do you do? Yeah, they call an ambulance, they take them away. But the trouble is with mental health, with a medical condition, we blame the condition. So if I had cancer, you're going to blame the cancer, not me. But if I had a mental illness, you're going to blame me for being in the state that I am. So we still blame the individual as opposed to the actual medical condition. For young people, it's very high with youngsters. And I see it in Sutherland when I do run the courses, particularly a lot of the Department of Education teachers that are undertaking the course at the moment, they just don't have enough trained personnel there. I did a presentation at Bankstown, at Revesby Workers for the Bankstown Command. It's called a Principals Forum. And the comments they shot at me was, we just don't have enough time, we've got too much to do. But the poor kid is suffering. It's so important. 50% of the room thought, yeah, it was a great idea. The other 50%, we're too busy. We've got exams to mark, we've got this. Well, the kids are going to end up being a statistic. Everybody's got their own different views, unfortunately. What else is there? Reluctance to seek help. Right? A lot of the youngsters won't seek help. Why? Because as soon as mum and dad finds out, you're going to point them to the doctor. You can't go out, you can't do this, you've got to take a medication, and so on and so on. So we as adults, we've got to try and influence those young individuals. And can mental health problems interfere with their development? Yes, certainly can. Certainly can. I know the amount of truancy I've seen at schools. Why? Because they just go out there and do their own thing with drugs and smoking and drinking and that. Jig in school, yeah. So let's have a look at some stats. So according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, 2020 to 22, 42.9% of people aged 16 to 85 experienced a mental disorder. That's pretty high, isn't it? That's very high. And then 21, just go back one. Diagnosed, yeah. This is through the reported incidents. 21% of people had a 12-month mental disorder, and anxiety was the most common at 17.2% of people 16 to 85. And 38 or 39%, 16 to 24 years, had a 12-month mental disorder, meaning they recovered from it. Why? Because they sought help. Next one. Oh, can I? Oh, okay, sorry. There's some more stats about 2023. We're almost there. At the moment, 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds experience mental health disorder. And that accounts to about 13% of this mental disease. Depression, anxiety, behavioural changes are among the leading causes. Suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. Who read that article about that surfer, 20-year-old surfer? Yeah, pretty sad, isn't it? We couldn't have done anything about it, but at least we could have attempted. But how would you know? You don't see any signs, do you? That's the hardest thing. A sign is something I can see, a symptom is something you're going to tell me. If I can't recognise that sign, I'll probably do very little about it. What else we got? 2.2 of adolescents have some form of generalised anxiety disorder. And then 25% of people have the eating disorder. And they are males, not females. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? We all thought that females would be the ones with eating disorders. Males are way up there. So, where can we step in? Just like with normal first aid, you step in when the person is becoming unwell or they are unwell. This is our role as mental health first aiders. How do we do that? Is to recognise the signs and then ask the person, how long have you been feeling like this? What are you feeling? Have you seen anybody? Have you spoken to anybody about it? It's very, very important. A lot of people don't get help. Still the high level of stigma, and then can't get to see a doctor there and then. They got to wait. And because they wait, they just don't bother with it. On the other side of things, a lot of people out there are still not well informed. And what Mental Health First Aid is trying to do for mental health is, as long as you have some form of knowledge, like everybody can do CPR because it's been promoted so much, right? But mental health, there's very little promotion, other than when they have the Are You OK Day once a year. Every day should be Are You OK, not once a year. Helpers' actions might determine how quickly. So the sooner I can provide help to somebody, but just sitting with them and ask them some questions. What do they want me to do? How do you want me to react? Who do you want me to call? And the course is going to try and improve that knowledge. How many of you consider yourselves having reasonable knowledge about mental health? A few of you, yeah? How many of you would be prepared to learn more about it? Yeah? Yeah, big time. All right, so let's have a look at some more stats. 16 to 85, anxiety disorders. Women are in blue. We're in burgundy. Women, 17.9. We sit at about just above 11. Depression, again, women. But when we come to substance misuse, drugs, alcohol and that, the men are way up there. Any common mental illness, you can see that they're pretty much on par. There's not that much there. There's only probably, like 3 or 4, but it's interesting statistics. What do you think men are more likely to use substance, be involved in substance misuse as opposed to women?
Because we don't want to speak out.
Yeah. And I know back in the days in the cops, after an incident, you used to go and have a couple of schooners, get in your car and drive back home, and tomorrow was another day. Yeah, you were suffering, but the way you drowned your sorrows by a bit of alcohol, or back in those days, the old smokes, yeah. 1 in 5 Australians will experience mental health in any 1 year. What's our population? 25 million? 1 in 5. That means 5 million are suffering. That's huge. That is huge. And then 1 in 4 young adults will experience a mental health. So 25%. I don't know how many young adults are in that 25 million. However, 25% is pretty high. So anxiety disorder. Common types, you've got anxiety, depression, and substance misuse. We start with anxiety, and then we get depressed. Because we're depressed, we go home and have a glass of champagne or a couple of beers. We get a bit more intoxicated, we become a bit more anxious, become more depressed, we have more alcohol, and it becomes an endless circle. We've got to break that chain. If we have anxiety and seek help, we're not going to get down to a depressive state nor down the path of substance use. Anxiety, pounding heart rate, rapid heart rate and pounding heart, and then shortness of breath. What does that look like from a medical perspective? Huh? Heart attack, cardiac arrest, yeah. But it might not be a heart attack. See, we jump in straight away, pounding heartbeat, shortness of breath and that. John's having a heart attack. John could be having a panic attack or an anxiety attack. So you notice that, but you dive in straight to the medical condition of a heart attack as opposed to say, hey, are you suffering anxiety? Are you anxious about it? Is something worrying you? That may be the case. You get the pain down your shoulders, your back, dry mouth. You have that fear and worry. You become nervous. They're all signs of anxiety. Has anybody been there? Show of hands, don't be embarrassed. Let's open it up. Yeah. Come out of it. Yeah, you're here today. Are you okay today? Yeah, good. All right, now when you look at depression, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, feeling worthless. I know many times I felt worthless going to work because I was just a number. To this day, I still remember my number. That's all I was. I wasn't that person. Crying, feeling hopeless. Lack of energy, just can't get going. Hence why I decided to go up there and sleep. Moving slowly, agitated, and having the headaches, irregular menstrual cycle. If I have the headaches, what am I going to do? I'm going to hit the Panadols, the Nurophens. Are they a drug? Yes, they are. And then I tend to rely on those. Barriers. 26% feel embarrassed in seeking help. That's a quarter of the population. Afraid that the person might think badly of me? 10%. I don't know that I've got a problem. 43%. 43% don't know they've got a problem because to them it's normal. But to us, I can see the difference. I can see the person changing, but to them, it's nothing. 5% cost concerns, what others would think about them, and so on and so on. So it's the sort of very... Now, the other thing we're to be careful of is cultural barriers. For some cultures, there's no such thing as mental health. Okay? There's no such thing as euthanasia. There's no such thing as blood transfusion. Just be mindful of the fact that if you are dealing with a cultural issue, that you understand the culture, or get somebody that can assist you with that culture. Whenever we had the area that I was in, which was Maroubra, I was involved a lot with Indigenous people. So we worked very closely with the Indigenous youth workers and the elders because they're the people that were giving us that opportunity to talk to the individual. But then you got the Asian culture, the Greek culture, Italian, German, Russian and so on. So for some people, mental health doesn't exist. Suicide statistics from Lifeline. In 2022, 8.6 Australians die every day by suicide. Take that by 365 over the total population, that's pretty high. It's pretty high. 75% of those who take their own life are males. Is anybody alarmed by that stat? Yeah? No? Yes? No? Yeah? All right, leading cause of death for Australians between the ages of 15 and 44. What else is it I can highlight? Estimated 1 in 3 Australians reported feeling lonely in 2021. That was COVID days, so I think a lot of us were feeling lonely at the time. Burden of disease in 15 to 24-year-olds, which is pretty much some of the people you're teaching how to drive, that age group. You can see that suicide sits right up the very top. Anxiety, depression, alcohol and asthma. A lot of people say, oh, that's a medical thing. Yeah, but all these other conditions, which are mental illnesses, are way above a supposed medical condition called asthma. Not anaphylaxis, not heart attacks, not cardiac arrest, not cancer. Asthma is one of the leading causes from the medical field, but so are these others. Facts about suicide. In 2020, 26 young Australians aged 0 to 14 died by suicide. That's the latest statistics we have at the moment. 174 between 15 to 19 and 280 between 20 to 24. We're only just talking about the road, the death toll on the roads. Victoria, way over 200 at the moment. But I think that's still way above Victoria's death toll. And back in 2020 would have been a lot lower. So what does that represent? 0.5 per 100, 11 per 100 and 16 per 100. Pretty high. 87% of people who die by suicide do have a mental illness, diagnosed or undiagnosed. As you can see here, causes of death between 15 to 24-year-olds from 2020, 42%. Motor vehicle injuries were 38. And then you've got your accidental poisoning, which is 13, and 7 is other causes. Is everyone okay? Some heavy stats here, but just checking in. What are the 3 key actions for suicide? What do you think? If gentleman over here is asking me, John, how are you? Oh, I've had enough. World's better off without me. What would be his first reaction to me? Sorry? What can we do? Anyone else? Sorry? Go for a stroll. Anyone else? First thing is ask them directly. John, are you having suicidal thoughts? John, are you thinking about taking your life? Because of that comment I made. That was a sign. I told you the world's better off without me, or you're better off without me. That is a trigger. Then what he needs to do is work together to keep me safe for now. Why? Because he's made the call for help, just like you do in Doctors ABCD. You made the call for help. And then going to link him to a professional. A lot of people are still embarrassed to ask the question, hey buddy, do you have suicidal thoughts? Or are you thinking about taking your life? If I said yes, your next question would be, how have you planned to take your life? What have you purchased to help to assist you in taking your life? You need to ask these questions. If you don't, and you read it in the paper the next day or hear it on the news the next day, you say, by geez, I wish I would have done something about it. Ask, keep safe, and connect. There's a story that I told when Diana was in the class, in the mental health class, was I was called to we picked up a parent crying for help. Apparently her son was suicidal. It was in the eastern suburbs. And basically we took the call and I said to my buddy, mate, we're going, no sirens, no lights, no nothing. The rest of them were going to follow us. When we got to the site, where you probably know where it is, I said to him, mate, stay here, I'm going to go over chat to this kid. The kid was on the edge, just looking like that, over the edge. And I said to him, buddy, before you decide to jump, can I have a quick word with you? He said, what do you want to know, PIG? I said, I just want to find out why you're going to take your life. He said, nobody listens, nobody cares. I said, I care, that's why I want to find out so I can help others and maybe I can help you. And he goes, so you're going to talk to me? I said, yeah. I sat down, crossed my legs, about 10 metres away from him. I said to him, I'm sitting down, come over, sit down, we'll have a chat here. He goes, no, nobody cares. I said, well, I do care. I said, is there anyone I can call to have a chat with? He said, no. I said, what about your mum and dad? No. What about your uncle? No, at this stage. Anyway, we chatted for about 5-10 minutes and then he decided to come over the edge, come over towards me. I'm sitting where the gentleman there is and we're having a chat. Next minute he runs across with his arms wide open, gave me a big hug. He said, you saved my life, officer. And I said, why? He said, because you're the first person who was actually communicating with me and asked me why I felt the way I did. And to this day, I get cold shivers down my back talking about it. I had the radio through to say, guys, don't run out here because the kid's running towards me. And for those, I believe there are some ex-police officers here, you know exactly what it's like when somebody runs towards you. Out comes the Glock. We got him in the car, took him over to Randwick Hospital. I said, who do you want to call? He said, can we call my uncle? My mum, dad don't care. He came from a very wealthy family. He was bullied at school. He was sort of pinned because he was getting a lot of pocket money. Money was taken out from him. A private school. The moral of the story is there's one less statistic. Why? Because I made the call to have that conversation with him. And a lot of people did. I got reprimanded by the seniors for telling the kid, before you jump, I want to have a chat with you. But how else would I have approached it? He was going to jump anyway. So I had to go with him to get his attention. But when we had that conversation, statistically it was saved. So hard to do. So I've only been to one suicide attempt in my career, but that still sits there. 16-year-old kid. I got 2 daughters. And just imagine as a father what it's like to see, But if you don't ask the question, you'll never know. So ask. That's exactly what I did. I kept him safe. Whilst I was having that conversation. Then we managed to get professional help. So that's very, very important. Is that a tool that you can use? We'll go more. Sorry? Okay. Why do people injure themselves? Just very quickly, non-suicidal injuries. To manage their emotions, when they cut their wrists. Yeah. I've been given the wind-up call. To punish themselves, 25%. 6% to communicate with others. And then a reminder that they're still alive. I'd hate to be doing that for myself. 4% to influence others. 3% less said they engaged in self-injury to get a high. All right, what's our principle? Our principle is to assess, listen to them, give them support, encourage other forms of support. That leads me to the action plan that you've got in front of you, right? Basically, as it states, approach the person, assess and assist for any crisis, listen to them and communicate non-judgmentally. Very, very important not to be judgmental, okay? Give them support and information, encourage the person to get professional help, encourage other professional help, other supports. Very quickly, untreated mental illness, obviously it's going to have an effect, okay? If you don't get treated, you're not going to get any better. It's going to quickly, offering support, there's a whole heap of support lines, but there's Beyond Blue, Black Dog, Headspace, there's a whole heap of suicide callback service, there's a mental health crisis team. Strategies. Make sure you have the basic things in life, encourage a healthy habit. Just, they're all up there. I'm not going to read them one by one, but you've got to interact with a person, right? For you guys, as responders, look after yourselves. After a mental health incident, you're going to need to debrief. It's very important. How do you debrief? Take a break. Go fishing, go for a walk, take the dogs for a walk. Do something that makes you feel happy. Standard courses. 2 types of courses. The standard mental health, which is a 2-day. For 18 years and above, you'll get a certificate. It's valid for 3 years, just like first aid is. Then there's the youth mental health, designed for people between, if you're dealing between people between the ages of 12 to 18, you will get a certificate for that too. No, it doesn't. The videos and the exercises on the youth mental health are targeted for the youth. You know, about being lazy on the lounge, not doing your homework, not going to school and that, whereas the adult is very different. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I was on time. Anybody got any questions? Yes? Sorry? Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, there's International Mental Health First Aid Association. It is available in New Zealand. If you want some more information or details, flick me an email. You've got my business card and I'll put you in touch with them. The way they've restricted delivery of this in Australia, only the Australian trainers can deliver it. When I have a Zoom session, they can only be from our states or territories, but they cannot be from New Zealand, okay, or any other Pacific islands and that. Any other questions?